So, in cell signaling, we are going to encounter a new term which is signal transduction. Signal transduction. And we define signal transduction as a series of steps, that occur on reception of a signaling molecule, in order to cause a cell response. So as we shall be discussing, there are various types of signaling molecules, and not all molecules can cross the cell membrane, and even those that cross the cell membrane have limitations. So there shall be series of reactions that occur within the cells in order to stimulate a response. And the signal transduction pathway will involve 3 steps. Number 1 will be a reception. Number 2 is transduction. Then lastly is what they call a cellular response. Under reception, a signaling molecule shall bind or binds to a specific receptor. It binds to a specific receptor. That is why different signaling molecules have different effects on different cells, because not every cell has a receptor that will bind that ligand to it. So reception is when a signaling molecule binds its own specific receptor. After that, when it binds, for example, I'm assuming I have my cell, and this is a receptor, and this is my signaling molecule. So it will move from here, then later come and bind here. I'm assuming this is a receptor which has a protein, which is connected to a protein inside here. So the protein shall undergo conformational changes. In order to cause what they call a cell response. So whenever the signaling molecule undergoes reception, it will stimulate some changes to happen within the intrinsic side of the receptor. Especially for hydrophilic signaling molecules, they can't cross the cell membrane, therefore they stop on the cell surface membrane. However, they have to stimulate certain changes within the interior of the cell membrane in order to come up with a cellular response, and we call that process transduction. Lastly is the response. How does the cell respond after the signaling molecule binds? And the response is just the reaction of a cell, after undergoing transduction. The response can be gene activation. This is very common for molecules that can easily cross through the cell membrane, then enter into the interior of a cell. It can be protein synthesis. Never know, a specific protein might be needed to be manufactured at that time. So whenever a signaling molecule binds, they increase the rate at which the protein is being produced. So basically that is it. You just need to know that signal transduction is just a series of steps that occur on the reception of a signaling molecule, then that cause a cell response. The cell response that doesn't just come out of the blue. The signaling molecule must first be received on the cell surface membrane or within the interior of the cell. Then we shall have some conformational changes which we call transduction, and then later the cell will respond by undergoing various changes. We say it can either be gene activation, protein synthesis or other things as we shall be discussing later. After having understood the signal transduction pathway, yes, the signal transduction pathway, I want us now to look at the various types of cell signaling. So next we are going to look at the types of cell signaling. Types of cell signaling. Types of cell signaling. So there are around 5 types of cell signaling. Number one is what they call pararcrine cell signaling. Pararcrine cell signaling is what we call endocrine cell signaling. Endocrine cell signaling is what we call juxtacrine cell signaling. Juxtacrine cell signaling, or what they call contact dependent cell signaling. Contact dependent cell signaling. Then we have what they call autocrine cell signaling. Autocrine cell signaling. And lastly we have what they call synaptic cell signaling. So, and all these are classified depending on their distances, as we are going to be seeing. Let's begin with pararcrine cell signaling. Pararcrine cell signaling. Pararcrine cell signaling. So important to note before even we go further that we shall ever have a signaling cell. And then we shall have what they call a target cell. A target cell. A signaling cell is the one that will be producing a signaling molecule, which I say they can call a ligand or a ligand. Then the target cell is the one that has the receptors that can bind the ligand. Receptors that can bind the ligand. So I didn't want to say those terms minor when you guys are not aware. So in pararcrine signaling, as I've said, we shall have a signaling cell, or a cell that will produce a signaling molecule. The signaling cell, it will produce what we call a signaling molecule, or what we say is a ligand or a ligand. Then on this ligand, we call it a pararcrine factor. A pararcrine factor. Pararcrine factor, which will travel for a short distance. I repeat, in pararcrine signaling, molecules travel for a short distance. We shall see why. So we said the signaling cell shall produce a signaling molecule, a ligand, which we call a pararcrine factor, and it will be intercepted by the target cell. But that target cell should be in close proximity. When I say close proximity, I mean within the shortest distance. And this target cell should have the receptor. It have the receptors for the pararcrine factor. I repeat, in pararcrine signaling, the signaling cell shall produce a ligand, which in this case is the pararcrine factor, which shall be intercepted by a target cell. Target cell has receptors for that pararcrine factor, and that target cell should be in close proximity. Yes? In pararcrine signaling, these ligands, or what they call the pararcrine factors, usually travel for a short distance, and that is so because of dilution, or destruction. What do I mean? That whenever a pararcrine factor is produced, as the more distance it travels, the more it becomes diluted. Therefore, its effect on the various cells goes on reducing. That is why it acts on target cell within the closest proximity, or as its distance goes on increasing, more of it is being destroyed, and being destroyed by maybe the surrounding cytoplasm, the surrounding fluids. And that is why still it will act on cells within the closest proximity. Then examples of pararcrine signaling is involved within various pathways, things like the HNT pathway, the WNT pathway, the fibroblast growth pathway, This we shall discuss later in our series about reproduction. Then there is what they call VEGT. VEGT. Allow me to talk about VEGT shortly. VEGT is vesicular endothelial growth